Alright guys, this is just a quick introduction to density. It's not working. It's not working. There we go. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, why do you want to know about density? Density is a concept that explains many things in the world around us, and here are some examples of how density affects us. Density creates ocean currents, weather patterns, sinking in water, floating in water, getting oxygen into your blood, and allowing sugar to get into your cells. The definition of density is that it's a relationship between mass and volume. If you look at the two pictures here on the screen, the column on the left would have less density than the column on the right. There are fewer molecules in this cylinder on the left than there are on the right. So you can also think of density as how tightly packed or loosely packed molecules are in a substance. We'll be talking about how to find density, so here's a quick explanation of how that works. Since density is a relationship between mass and volume, you need to know the mass and volume in order to find its density. So there's an equation that we use to describe this relationship. The equation is density equals mass divided by volume. So you can write it two different ways. Let's try an example problem. So let's say this box has a mass of 15 grams and a volume of 10 cubic centimeters. If we use the equation density equals mass divided by volume, we would get D equals 15 grams divided by 10 cubic centimeters. After we do the math, we get a density of 1.5 grams per cubic centimeter. And this means that for every cubic centimeter, there is 1.5 grams of mass. Now I'd like you guys to try sample problem 2. So go ahead and pause your video, and then we'll regroup in just a minute. So let's say this ball has a mass of 25 grams and a volume of 15 cubic centimeters. Yeah, this isn't going so well. Hey guys, this is just a quick introduction to density, which is our next topic. So the first thing is, why do we want to know about density? Density is a concept that you guys will study in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and it helps explain a lot of things that happen around us in the world. Here's a few examples. Density is what creates ocean currents. It helps cause weather patterns. It makes things sink or float in water. It allows you to get oxygen into your bloodstream, and it also allows your cells to get sugar. The definition of density is that it's a relationship between mass and volume. Density could also be thought of how tightly or loosely packed molecules are in a substance. So if you look at these two cylinders, the cylinder on the left has 6 red circles. Let's just call those molecules. The cylinder on the right has quite a few more. So we would say the cylinder on the left is less dense than the cylinder on the right. One of these may float in water and the other may sink in water. So how do you find the density of something? You need to know the mass and volume, because density is a relationship between mass and volume. So we'll be using a triple beam balance to measure the mass and a graduated cylinder to measure the volume of the substance. There's an equation that helps explain this relationship between mass and volume, and that equation is density equals mass divided by volume. You could write it this way, or you could write it mass over volume. Both would tell you the same thing. So let's try a sample problem. Let's say this box has a mass of 15 grams and a volume of 10 cubic centimeters. If we use our equation density equals mass divided by volume, we would get D equals 15 grams divided by 10 cubic centimeters. And then after we do the math, we get a density of 1.5 grams per cubic centimeter. And this means that for every cubic centimeter, there is 1.5 grams of mass. Now let's try sample problem 2. Let's say this ball has a mass of 25 grams and a volume of 15 cubic centimeters. Please pause the video and try to calculate the density of this sphere. If you use the density equation, D equals m divided by V, or mass divided by volume, you would have D equals 25 grams divided by 15 cubic centimeters. And then after you calculate that, you get 1.67 grams per cubic centimeter. This means that for every cubic centimeter, there is 1.67 grams of mass. So just a really brief summary of what we talked about so far. This was just an introduction to density to learn how to calculate density. You need to know the mass and the volume in order to calculate the density of an object. Later, we'll be looking at the complex ideas of density and do some really fun experiments to learn more about density.